Hello, everybody. You're watching 100 Days of Making Comics, where for 30 minutes every day I'll be either writing, drawing, inking, coloring, lettering, doing something to further my goals of both becoming a comic book artist and to draw comics, make comics. So, first of all, for those that are watching, I wish you all well. Hope everybody's doing good. Let me zoom in here, put a little bit of zoom. There we go. I haven't uploaded the past couple of days. I'm not really sure if it's me taking a break or anything like that. Could be just more or less maybe getting slightly overwhelmed with different things going on. But I'm back at it. I really don't have too much to report on. I have been doing research. I'm sorry, guys, you can't even see what I'm drawing. Let me move on to the next panel. Focus, camera. What's the deal? Let me try this. Zoom out. Now, zoom in. Yeah. There we go. Excellent. Well, we got fuzzy again, but whatever. But let's see, I've been doing a lot of research on what do I do once I get the comic book made, and both me and my friend Will Avenger, we've got comics that we're going to be having that's going to get published. We're going to self-publish, and I already did a lot of the research for his book, and I'm kind of continuing on that research for mine as well. And so I've looked at publishers, or let me rephrase that. I looked at printers. I looked at printing companies that could, take on the job and print the book. So I don't think it's going to be a problem so much finding a printer for the most part. The next problem is getting the funding for the book, and that might not be as hard as I think. But then again, I'm still wary. I mean, I want to publish it. I want it to be a printed comic book, for people to take home and read and that sort of thing. So I'm contemplating starting a Kickstarter. Not now, but sometime within a year or less. Just whenever I get this book finished, and I've committed my mind to doing that. And then I have to figure out how many copies of my comic that I want to print starting off. Now, let me think here. I kind of would like to do 1,000 copies to get it printed, and to there's a lot of costs associated with that, and it would be cheaper to do 200 copies. So I'm thinking either 1,000 copies get printed or 200. And here recently, I got to thinking about the Kickstarter thing, which I've been talking about, and I guess it would probably be more, maybe more feasible to ask people to invest in a comic that's going to print like 200 issues. Not 200, yeah, 200, not just 200 books. That might be more doable, and the good thing about that is if people actually donated to it and it did a little better than what I hoped, then that extra money would go into probably printing extra copies or something of that sort, you know. Which to anyone watching this, you know, I don't want you to think that I got this thing up and going and I've got it started. I'm doing it right now. No, this is just me thinking out loud and kind of just brainstorming and trying to figure out, you know, what is the best approach, you know. All right, so funding is the number one problem, I guess, getting started. I guess the second problem is, well, distribution. Okay, so you know, for those that don't know me, that are following my channel and stuff, and I appreciate every single follower, subscriber, and stuff that I got. But for those that don't know me, I live in Kentucky. I'm from Kentucky, Appalachia, and so I'm thinking the way that I want to market this comic is to sell it within the great state of Kentucky, and maybe eventually branch off down into Tennessee, Virginia, Ohio, a couple other surrounding areas. You know, that's assuming it's successful. You know, I'm kind of planning when I do this comic with worst case scenario and best case scenario. So right now, essentially, what time I'm talking to you all, I'm telling you the best case scenario, where you know people actually like my book and they want to buy it and they want more of it. You know, that's the best case scenario. But you know how life is. Just because you think something is good doesn't, you know, mean it's so. Or maybe, you know, and art is subjective anyway. Because, you know, what I think looks good is probably would look like trash, you know, to some of you all, and then vice versa. That's why art is subjective. It's in the eye of the beholder. But I guess commercial art's a little different, because with commercial art, you're making art that appeals to the most amount of people to make money. So I guess the real question is, do I make art that has a mass appeal to it? And I think so overall, but I don't want to be too. Let me get my super pencil. I don't want to get, you know, I don't know what the right word is, but I don't want to get unrealistic about it, you know, because I don't know. I really don't know. See, the style of comics that I do is, I guess, you know, a lot of people call it 90s style, I guess. And I love the 90s style. And it was a shame that it, you know, kind of went away there for a while. And I don't really think that was by choice. I think a lot of editors at Marvel and DC kind of poo-pooed on it. And I have my theory as to why that is. I could be wrong. I mean, I think there came a point where Marvel and DC was hiring a lot of people to be interns at their respective companies. And these interns weren't necessarily fans of comics. And these people worked their way up the chain of command at the big publishers, you know. And it's like, hey, I'll just go ahead and make a career out of this. And these people started reviewing portfolios, and they wanted more of a, realistic, super hyper realistic rendition of your favorite superheroes. And I believe there is a place for that, absolutely. It breaks from the norm. It gives you a little something different to look at, and some people would probably prefer that. Because there are, comic sales that kind of reflect that and stuff. But if we're talking about comic book sales, if we look at the books that do sell, in terms of artist-driven books, a lot of those people draw in the '90s style that sell, large amounts of books, like Rob Liefeld, for as much flack as he gets, everything that he draws usually sells really well. Jim Lee, well, he goes without saying, his stuff is usually uber successful. Some of you may disagree with this, but the Kuberts, their books do pretty good. I still consider them drawing very much still in the '90s style. Mark Silvestri, his stuff usually sells, fairly well. But I don't know if you guys and gals agree with this, but Joe Mandrea, is it Mandrea? He goes by Joe Mad, but his stuff is, definitely '90s style with a strong manga influence. So I guess what I'm getting at is there's still very much a place for '90s style art, as well as the more modern, hyper realistic art. There's room for everybody, And I think what I do is, definitely '90s style, but I think I'd be kind of more in the bottom tier as far as like artistic ability. I feel like every one of these bad guys I've drawn, they're like bald for some reason. I mean, they got hair, I just haven't put it in yet, Really digging this this 0.5 pencil. This is a very good purchase. So let me get back on topic here. Oh boy, I'm liking these feet I'm drawing. These big circle feet. I'll fill them in later. Or I could draw a big rock and cover them all up. Because nobody buys comics for feet. And if you say you do, you're lying. I don't believe it. Oh, let's see here. Okay. Anyway, let's move past the whole '90s rant. I don't know what you want to call it. Whatever it was. My little whatever. So yeah, Kickstarter. I was thinking anywhere from 200 to 1,000 printed books. I'm not really sure, where I want to go about stuff and how I want to go about stuff and all this different stuff. Blah 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 blah. The next problem that I'm going to have, let's say like everything goes well and people's like, hey, we we like your stuff, blah blah blah, and they support me on this hypothetical Indiegogo Kickstarter stuff, right? And I get the money, bam, I print the books. Now, then what? How do I get them in comic book stores? So I still have to talk to comic shops and stuff like that, and try to get their support, and then how much, will they pay for my comic, and also what's going to be the arrangement. Do I just drop off a bunch of books, and whatever sells, they give me the money, and whatever doesn't sell, they give me those books back? Or do they buy all the books up front, and those those books, they're theirs. They're stuck with them. Is it that kind of scenario? I don't know. That's a good question. And one thing I hate, or no, I don't want to say hate, but one thing that I don't think would be particularly helpful is if if I go to 20 different comic stores, right? And half of them want to be will pay for these books up front, and the other half just want to pay for what sells, and that'd be kind of a hassle to figure out. Now, somebody that's listening to this, you may say hey Brian, why don't you go digital? Well, I will go digital. I mean, I'll do that too. No sense in limiting my options, because there's a lot of people who like to get stuff digital, and I think most people that get stuff digital, they also buy the comic too. I don't really see digital as a threat to the comic book medium, which nobody asked me that, but I'm just saying. This ground right here is looking pretty interesting. I think once I get sort of the basic gist of this ground laid down, I want to start pulling out some Jim Lee reference, and I'm going to I really like the way Jim Lee does his ground and rubble, also John Byrne and Del Keon, but I'm going to try to focus on Mr. Lee and see if I can kind of replicate what he does. I think what Jim Lee does, or at least his inker, is he fills in large areas of black, and he goes back in with maybe with a white gel pencil, not a pencil, but an ink pen, a white gel ink pen, and he draws all the cracks and stuff. So I like to figure out how I can replicate that, because it just looks super polished. It's just got a really good look to it that I thoroughly enjoy. Okay, let me zoom out here. I apologize about my camera quality, about how about its zooming. How it kind of gets kind of blurry with the autofocus and all that good stuff. So let me get back on topic. 1,000 to 200 books, blah blah blah. Comic book stores. Okay, so the next problem that I have to figure out is distribution. How am I going to get all these books to these different stores? Now, a friend told me well, you just take it to the stores. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But here's the problem. let's say like I develop a really good work ethic, and I get to the point where, oh boy, that's a bad looking noise. Noise. Nose. That's a bad looking nose. Whatever. But it's not like I get to the point where I can actually churn out one issue a month, or at least one issue every 2 months. I think that's very realistic. Then the problem becomes like, hey, how do I manage writing, scripting, drawing, inking my own book, thinking about the business end, getting it published, printed, whatever, calling people that I need to call, and also hand delivering to all these comic book stores that are like 30, 40, 50, 100, miles throughout Kentucky. And then calling each one of these individual stores and like, hey, how's it going? How's the sales looking? Are people buying the book? What are people saying? So anything you think I could do different? Blah 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 blah. Because that has to happen. I mean, you got to get that feedback, because I think most people's not going to, write the snail mail of the book and. Because it's such a limited audience. But, if it was nationwide and stuff like that, I think, you'd be able to get better feedback. But, for me to get the feedback that I would need, I would have to rely on the comic stores, But anyway, have to do all that, deliver them, all that stuff. Not even talking about having to deal with working with colorists and letterers, to get the stuff done, and then having to deal with, like, of course, they're going to make mistakes or maybe not realize what I had in mind. And then I'm going to have to figure out how do I ask them to make corrections without it being, a hassle, because nobody wants to have to do anything over that they've spent time on. And I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot that goes into it. So there's the creative end and the business end. And before I get into it, I really want to have or start to develop. Why is she smiling? Kind of a thing where I can lessen the burden of the business end, so I can focus more on the creative. Because just drawing this stuff is work in and of itself. And I'm not saying that it's a pain. I enjoy doing it, but at the same time, it's about like a full-time job, and it takes a lot of effort to make that stuff happen. So I got to figure out a way to distribute my books to these comic book stores where I'm not going to be killing myself, every month. But then again, it is once a month or once every 2 months. But like, for those that don't know, right now I'm unemployed, and so it's going to be an easy thing to do. But once I find me a day job, that's going to change, because I'm going to need to balance work, home life, and all this other stuff. And I have to be realistic about it. So I got to find a way to balance these things. Right? I hope I'm making sense. I know it sounds like I'm rambling. Maybe I am, but there is there's some truth behind all this jabber, I believe. Let me zoom in here. Sorry, guys. So I've been looking at distribution. Now, some of you may say, like, well, why don't I go through Diamond Distributors, the largest and pretty much the only distribution company for comics in America. Well, you have to have like so many books, like you have to publish so many, you have to have printed so many books, there we go, before they even consider you. And you have to apply, right? Then they put you in the catalog, and people have to order your book. And so I think appealing to comic book stores directly would be an easier method for me, which I wouldn't rule out a diamond distributor aspect, but I just feel like it'd be a little bit more difficult, you know. I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it, you know, and there'd be like a gazillion independent guys on diamond distributors, you know, previews magazine right now, but you know, not saying that there ain't a bunch, but not as much as there could be, you know. I know there's an app like have you guys and gals heard of oh boy, what's it called? You ever heard of Uber? Basically, for those that don't know, Uber is this app on your phone where you can, like, if you need a taxi, you need a ride, you just contact, you know, you just send it out on the app or whatever that, you know, you need a ride, and somebody who is signed up to Uber, just a regular person, you know, who happens to be in the neighborhood or close by, they can come and pick you up, and you pay them, and there you go. That's Uber. Well, now they got an app for delivery. So, like, say, like, for example, somebody happens to be on their way to Louisville or Lexington, and you're from maybe Pikeville, which is maybe like 100 miles away, give or take. I don't know. Could be wrong about that. And that person happens to be heading that way, you know, and you're able to get a hold of them through this app. They can deliver your stuff for a fee and take it to the comic book store, you know, hypothetically. So that's one thing I'm thinking about. Sorry guys, I should have moved the camera what time I was drawing all over the place. So, anyway, I got a lot to think about. I'm getting ready to wrap this video up here in a little bit. Apologize if it's not been more entertaining and that sort of thing, you know. But, there we go. Zoom out. So, I decided on this fist busting out of the grave that I change it to a open hand. I mean, maybe a fist is the way to go, but we'll see how this hand looks. I think the hand will look cool by the time I get finished with it. And you know what? I know these pages, you all seen them all already, but I've not really, fleshed them out like how I should, because I just kind of want to knock them out and go over them again. So this is the go over them again stage. And if you watch my previous videos, you know that I've already got the other pages already sketched out, I was going to show them to you, but I don't have them handy. I got them under my glass table. So anyway, let's see here. All right. How am I going to do this hand? I need it to look cool. Okay. There we go. How you like them apples? Okay, I like that. I'll fix this hand, or maybe I'll leave it alone. I don't know. It depends on how it looks when I get done with it, but I'm not feeling it, but I like it better than how it was. I'll put it that way. So, I don't mean to get quiet. I'm in my creative concentration. It takes a lot of brain power for me to do a couple of things, one time I'm drawing. Oh yeah, I remember what I was going to say. I found out day before yesterday or something. One of my peers in class, in Hapkido class, and somebody that I'm very cool with, Chris. He told me that he is actually subscribed and watches my channel. And that surprised me. Not because that I didn't think that he didn't watch, or no, not because I thought that he wouldn't watch the videos. It's just because I don't know. I just didn't expect it for some reason. I can't explain it why. Wasn't any particular reason. It was just I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what it is I'm trying to say here. I guess I just want to say I really appreciate it, Chris, that you take the time, out of your day to watch my videos. It means a lot to me. And not just to Chris, Will Avenger, and my mother watches these videos. My sister on occasions, I think. Also, I don't know. There's a bunch. Daniel, Dave, Abe, Yanimal. I will learn how to pronounce your name, sir. I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names. Like, for example, I used to pronounce Dale Keon's name Dale Neon. I used to pronounce John Burns' name John Bry. I can't say why that is. My brain's just wired funny. But anyway, so please don't take offense if I pronounce anybody's name wrong. I'm terrible with names. I'll figure it all out. But also, Gosh, who else is there? You know, Fwa Storm, FWAH Storm, and I'll learn his name. I haven't learned it yet. Super cool guy, which you're all very super cool, and every one of them's been very helpful. There's a guy who's also a supporter. His name was Julius, and he kind of disappeared. At first, I thought he's unsubscribed, and maybe I did something to offend him, but it turned out that I think he actually deleted his channel altogether. So that was kind of sad to see that guy go, and let me think here. Give me a second. I'm trying to pull up some names here so I can be a little bit more specific. God, this is some really funky stuff I got going on here. But oh man, I'm sorry. There's Mr. Andre Thomas. You know, he's been helpful. Oh wow, this is pretty cool. Review Tech USA is actually, you know, following me, and I never thought that. You know, I watch this guy's channel all the time. You know, he does like, you know, gaming reviews and all this other stuff. Check out his channel. It's a really good channel for those of you that like that sort of thing. And oh boy. Oh, you know what? That's people I'm following. He's not following my channel, but check his channel out anyway. I was looking at the wrong list. I can actually look at the list of, you know, people that I'm following and then people that's following me. And okay, here we go. But you know, Andre Thomas is a big supporter. Oh, Oro Boros 3712 is another one. You know, Last Wolf King, Oro Boros movies. Oh gosh, I can't remember. But anyway, if I left anybody out, I apologize. I didn't mean to. I'm going to wrap this video up because I know a lot of you's getting tired of seeing me draw this patch of grass. Especially with it zoomed out. You can't even tell what I'm drawing. But I appreciate everybody taking the time to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. And if you want to support my channel, you're new to this channel, please subscribe or follow. And if you really like a video that you see, please upvote or like, because, you know, it helps get my videos seen. And if you want to give any feedback, constructive criticism, any help, advice, or whatever, or if you think something don't look that hot that I've drawed, oh crap, or it don't matter. If you just want to gab, please leave a comment down below in the comment section, and I'll try to write back to you. I usually write back within 3 days to a week, and I'm sorry. I know that's kind of not very timely. But I will write back, and I'll probably, hopefully sometime today or tomorrow, I'm going to write back to the replies of people that's wrote me so far. But anyway, thanks for watching. This is C.B Smallwood with 100 days of making comics.